All right, now I'm going to talk about something called effective annual yield. All right, what this really is, this is a way of comparing investments that might be difficult to compare. Like when you compound the interest monthly versus daily, you might be able to have a slightly lower interest rate but compound more often and wind up with higher interest. So it can be difficult to know which account will wind up being the best. So savings accounts, savings institutions will sometimes give you what they call the nominal or the stated rate, okay, the actual annual interest rate. But then they'll also give you a quantity called the effective annual yield or effective rate. Okay, what the effective annual yield really is if it were simple interest rather than compound interest, what would the interest rate have needed to be to wind up with the same amount of interest at the end of 1 year? So it like turns your compound interest situation into an equivalent simple interest, and then once everything's been converted to the simple interest, you can go ahead and compare better and know which one really yields, will wind up giving you more interest at the end. Okay, so here's a problem, and then we'll go back and do a couple more looking at that compound interest problem earlier. So here, the nominal interest rate is the 4.2%. Okay, they're compounding things monthly, which means the interest is being calculated every month, and that interest would be getting added back into your account. So before they calculate the interest the next time, okay, so the next time they calculate interest, they'll calculate it on that amount of interest that you earned previously. Okay? So your money grows faster if you do compound interest compared with just simple interest. All right, so to get the effective annual yield, to find out what would be the equivalent simple interest rate so that at the end of 1 year I would have the same amount I would have with this 4.2% compounded monthly, what I would do is use this formula. And in place of the R, I'd put the nominal rate. 4.2%, remember percent means divide by 100, so that's the same as 0.042. I'm compounding things monthly, so 12 times. N is 12, so I'm plugging that in, and then I'll subtract 1 from that. All right, so I'm going to type that in just like that. 1 plus 0.042 divided by 12, close the parenthesis. I didn't have a parenthesis like I should have, so let me try that again. Divided by 12, close the parenthesis, raise to the 12th power, hit enter, minus 1, and I get 0.042818007. Okay. And so typically you'd round that a little bit. So that really turns out to be 0.0428. Change it into a percent would be 4.28%. So a nominal interest rate of 4.2% compounded monthly would be equivalent to a simple interest rate of 4.28%, where they're just going to calculate the interest at the end of 1 year. Okay. All right, so let's try another one. Let me back up and do the effective annual yield on another situation. All right, so earlier, like if I wanted to think about what the effective annual yield would be for this situation, I'll say EAY, effective annual yield. I would be taking this information right here, 5%. So for the effective annual yield, I'm going to wind up taking the 1 plus the 0.05 compounded monthly, so divide by 12. I'm going to raise that to the 12th and subtract 1. 5% is the nominal interest rate. The effective annual yield for that turns out to be, let me calculate it while you're calculating it. Turns out to be about 5.12%. So a 5% compounded monthly at the end of 1 year winds up being the same as 5.12% simple interest. So the nominal interest rate of 5% compounded monthly is equivalent to a simple interest rate of 5.12%. All right, let's do one more here for the effective annual yield. Okay, 1 plus the interest rate, net nominal interest rate of 0.04 divided by 4 raised to the 4th minus 1. So 1.04, nope, it's not what I should have typed in. 1 plus 0.04 divided by 4, close the parenthesis, raised to the 4th minus 1 gives me 0.04060401. So that's about 4.06%. So a 4% compounded quarterly is equivalent to 4.06% simple interest. So a slightly higher simple interest. If that had been compounded monthly, it would have been a little more than 4.06. Compounded daily, just a little bit more, okay? All right.